Hello. So let's see what Archaea we have today. Fair warning, I'm exhausted. Every day I wake up, I feel like there's less to give. Woo! So I'm taking tomorrow off, and I'm going in Sunday, but it's fine. Yesterday was interesting. We'll see what today brings. That's all I got. It's been like kind of sort of unfolding within the past few hours, kind of. Um, in a way. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense why certain here we go. Okay. Things are viewed in certain ways. Who's at the bottom of the deck? Ooh. No, where's your name? The Fatalist is the attribute that came out today. With the persona of the Arbiter. And I was like, they're both blindfolded. And that's why I was like, ooh, okay. Is that a. No. Okay. I was like, is that a bra on her head? For a second, it looked like it might be. And they're looking in opposite directions, too. The Fatalist and the Arbiter. Well, let's see what this is about. The Fatalist, the Fatalist. Here we go. The Fatalist brings the gift of acceptance when you are thrown into despair by the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune and cannot find the irony and humor amidst the chaos. When you are in danger of losing your balance and fear you are about to fall, the Fatalist will teach you how best to ride the wheel of fortune with dignity. So let me try that one more time. Because the Fatalist brings the gift of acceptance when you are thrown into despair by the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune and cannot find the irony and humor amidst the chaos. When you are in danger of losing your balance and fear you are about to fall, the Fatalist will teach you how to best ride the wheel of fortune with dignity. And then the Arbiter is the persona. She is incorruptible and astute, and the quality of her mercy is not strained. The arbiter may be required to make judgments, but she is not judgmental, and her decisions are never swayed by personal gain. Blind to influence, bribery, and intimidation, the scales of equality she holds aloft separate the honorable from the dishonest, and the pertinent from the trite. She is Solomon's fair disciple, deliberating with compassion and love, placing emphasis on common sense and astute wisdom. Her core values demand that she defend the notion of fraternity and liberty against despotism and tyranny. Throughout mythology, the Arbiter has had many names: Themis, Astraea, Horai, Athena, Inanna, Mat. She has remained consistent to her principles of even handedness. She's aware that human nature is a pendulum swaying between generosity and avarice, and her deliberations take into account the imperfections innate within all of us. Love that energy. I like that energy, but the energy is cool, but it feels like it's almost like because she takes our imperfections into account, it's harder to make excuses. Or it's harder to try to find a loophole with this energy. What's interesting is yesterday though, the strategist came out. And the strategist was all about the one who can account for their own behaviors and the behaviors of other people. Now, here is an energy of an impartial justice that takes our imperfections into account. And so it feels like now it's accounting for us. Hey Holly, how you doing? Fridays mean little to me now. Weekends are a myth. But TGIF, I appreciate the sentiment. I guess, well, yeah, anyway. So, the gift of acceptance when you're thrown into despair by slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. I like that part. The part that says the arbiter may be required to make judgments, but she is not judgmental. Is interesting. Where do I go with this? There is an acceptance here. It's interesting that the fatalist doesn't change anything. Archeo General. The fatalist doesn't change anything. The fatalist isn't like you've been dealt a bad hand and the divine is going to come in and make everything right, or things are spinning out of control and something else is going to like break even or whatever. The fatalist is just like surrender to what's happening. And like that's it. Brings the gift of acceptance when you're thrown into despair by outrageous fortune and can't find the irony and humor amidst the chaos. And when you're in danger of losing your balance and you fear you're about to fall, she just teaches you how to best ride the wheel with dignity. And I never watched Game of Thrones, but I think it's making me think, was her name Cersei? And she had to like do some kind of walk or something, but she did it with like still like, even by that point, again, I didn't watch the show, so but all I know about Cersei is that like nobody liked her. She was kind of a villain, I think, and her family died? Question mark. And then she had to take some long walk, and but it's like she still held her head up or something like that. I don't know. I thought of Cersei from Game of Thrones. Hola. I am glad to be alive and live, I guess. There's something here about a consistency. It's like whether things are going great, whether things are going terribly, it's all the wheel of fortune. And the turn of the wheel, it's like there's only so much that the turn of the wheel, there's like only so much impact that that should have on who we are. And with the arbiter, it's like I know like when things get challenging or when things get difficult, when people are stressed or strained, sometimes Tempers can run a little hotter, or things can come to a boil a lot quicker. But it's almost like there should still be like a line somewhere, or there should still be something. Because the attribute is the fatalist, but the persona is the arbiter, meaning it's fair. There's a fairness to it. Um, Goodness. It feels like it could be a little chili peppery. I think so too, though. Maybe it could be the case like there's a wheel of fortune that's turning in a certain direction, but it's not because of something that was done, right? It's not necessarily like karma being played out that you lose a job or that something bad happens, that like you stub your toe. You know what I mean? Sometimes things just like happen. And sometimes it's almost like sometimes things can happen to us for other people. Maybe. Like, let's say that um, it's the only example I can think of right now, so I'll just go with it. Let's say that it's like two people who work together, and someone has to go through an experience of like working alone. Let's say like you're the person that gets let go or whatever, because somebody needs to know what it's like to work without you there, right? And so, in your mind, or from your perspective, or when the story is told from your point of view, can seem like out of the blue and unfair. But it's because something needed to happen for the other person. And then something else will pick up for you. You'll go somewhere else, or the next thing will open up for you. You know what I mean? With all of this blindfolded energy, it does also speak of our limited perception. And I think that can be an interesting reason why the fatalist is here as well. It could almost be like a not wanting to ruin the surprise energy. And so maybe something bad happens, but it sets you up for something different, or it makes you available to receive something else. And so in hindsight, the bad thing might have actually been a good thing, because if it didn't happen, you wouldn't have been where you needed to be at the time and place that you were there for whatever else to happen. Very much in the vein of like rejection is God's protection type of energy. Just how sometimes, like, because we don't have the whole picture, it can be easy to focus on the things that we do see. What deck am I gonna pull for these? Oof, I would have to read this. Let's. I'm feeling the Antique Anatomy Tarot, so we'll see. We'll see if I can get the Antique Anatomy Tarot to speak to me. I feel like it usually does, but some of these things I gotta read, and it's fine. I don't mind reading. I kind of want to. So I'm gonna give this a few shuffles, and then I'm gonna look around the Wheel of Fortune and the Eight of Swords. I don't know if this is an Eight of Swords blindfold or if it's a Two of Swords. I think I'm actually gonna look around the Two of Swords, because the Two of Swords sometimes, I think especially in the SKT for me, But the Two of Swords sometimes can come in as like a use your intuition rather than your logic. Because if you go into it purely with logical mind, it may seem like you're not able to reach a conclusion because the pros and cons are pretty equal. Or it's like there's no logical solution, but there is an intuitive solution, right? And it's like, I don't know. The Two of Swords feels like it often has some kind of reference or tied to the High Priestess. Uh, but in the SKT, there's like the Eye of God above the person with the two swords. Sometimes there'll be like a moon or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. And it doesn't necessarily feel. I mean, it can feel as stuck as the Eight of Swords, but the point is to not. So, Two of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. And then we're going to cut it here. 3 cards came out. The 6 of Elixirs, the 4 of Blades, and the 7 of Blades. I can't read any of these. But they all say Sparrow Labs, and they all say take 1 teaspoon only. And then in the 4 of Blades, the 2 in the middle look like a pair of shears. Or they make me think of a pair of shears. And then the 7 of Blades is here. 6 blades down, 1 blade up. So the thing is, talking about the Two of Swords and the High Priestess, these two remind me of the pillars on the High Priestess, the ones that sit behind the High Priestess. And then with the shears in the middle, it's like the High Priestess knows that there's something that needs to be trimmed, cut, or pruned right now. And that's what's happening. And it feels like with the 6 of Cups here, maybe it can be removing some trauma nostalgia thing. So trauma is like when we don't like it, nostalgia is when we do like it. But either way, we hold on to it. With nostalgia, it can be easy to be like, oh, I wish things would be like this time, X amount of days, months, years, seconds, decades ago. And so it's like you're always trying to get back to something and never in the present. And trauma on the other side, it's like it can pull you back sometimes. But in the sort of like running from it, it feels like it's also difficult to be in the moment. I guess it would depend on the moment. But it feels like there's something. Maybe it's like some returned hope or something like that. Or a dream that comes back. That was a thing a few days ago. I think it was a question of like, where do hopes. I remember like it was like in Halloween Town, there's the one place where like everything is lost goes. And I started watching this other show. I think it's the Borough of Magical Things or something like that on Netflix. And like there is a trunk that holds a lot of like lost things. And it was like, I wonder if there's a place where like lost hopes and lost dreams go. And then I can't remember anything about that reading. Um, honestly. But I feel like there was an energy of like hopes coming back or something like that, dreams returning that somebody thought like would never happen. And what's interesting is it feels like at some point we become or became the killer of those dreams. Because with the Seven of Swords, it feels like the Six of Swords was like us moving away from something. And then this Ace of Swords is a realization, right? So it's like we realize by us moving away from something, we actually create distance, or we actually make it difficult for something to manifest, or we introduce resistance into a situation where there is naturally no resistance. Maybe there was at some point in the past, but the resistance is gone outside of us sort of carrying it forward with us. Either that, or it's like there's this certain direction that we have our eye on, that we focus and funnel our energy into, but there's like a path outside of that that would get us where we want to go. And with the blindfold on this Wheel of Fortune, it makes me think of like how we're navigating life blindly. We just do the best we can with what is in front of us or with what we have. And that's all. Like the arbiter, like she takes account our innate imperfections, right? So the arbiter is like, it has an understanding that we do the best that we can with what we have. But it's almost like that's why it's so important to like whatever the fatalist and arbiter is trying to teach us or give us, that's why it's so important for us to take it, because it feels like that'll help make up for what we lack in sight or vision or whatever. I was going to look before and after Vanth today. One second. Because I remember there was a time when Vanth was coming out like crazy. Like every time I use Mosley or Oracle of Souls, Vanth would come out. And it's like you have everything that you need. And if you come upon a time where you don't, like where you need something and you don't have it, it'll be easily accessible. And the reason why I was going to look for Vanth was because at work, I do environmentals. And so that's like water and air. And I was doing the water. We ran out of filters, so they had to order a substitute. And I was like, oh, these substitute filters are trash. They don't, because it's like the bottom of the filter cup didn't fit the opening for the filter device, the vacuum that sucks the water out. So it was like so slow because it couldn't get a seal for that vacuum to really establish itself. And so the water like dribbled out. It was excruciating. And I had enough to do like daily water, but not enough to do weekly water. So all this week I was doing the daily water with the old filters that fit fine. And I was dreading this day. Actually, it happened yesterday. I was dreading the day where I would run out of the old filters and I would have to use the new ones. And I was pulling the filters out of the box, and I accidentally pulled out this little bag with 5 blue thingies in it. And so then I was looking at it, and usually I just like, if it's not a filter, I just throw it away. Or I'll leave it in the box and then I throw it away. But I looked at it and I was like, wait, these are adapters. And I was like, oh, so if I put this in here, I can stick that in the device that I already have and it'll work perfectly. I discovered that yesterday. And today it made me think of Van. I had exactly what I needed when that substitution came in, but I didn't know that it was what I needed because I was so used to just like disregarding and discarding the other things that come in the box. And yeah, that's my little. I was like, oh, I should look like before and after Van. And then like it was, I like when I tell y'all I was upset. I was mad. I was like, I'm already here all this time and now I gotta wait because these filters so slow and blah 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 blah. I wish I could just not do it. And then like the whole time the solution was literally right there. So yeah, this week it was less excruciating. And again, like I pulled it out on accident. Like I saw it in the box and meant to leave it in the box. But when I looked in the hood, I was like, how did these even get in here? And then I actually looked at them and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I need. Is somebody at my door? Yes, ma'am. Why? So yeah. All right, let's go. Let's go cut it in half. I'm gonna look before and after Van because that energy feels like it can be here too. Oh, okay. Danu and Erishkigal. Wrath, instability, suspicion, motherhood, ferocity, creation. Wrath and ferocity. I would say I'm not necessarily feeling them, but let's get the book out. I don't know why I put the book away. Are you live? So the cards that came out around Vanth are Morgan Le Fay and El Shaddai. Morgan Le Fay is the Witch of Ages, atonement, growth, and deceit. El Shaddai is the radiant Lord, wisdom, paternalism, and kindness. And it mentioned astute wisdom, I think, in the entry for the Arbiter. And then here's Vanth, respite, assistance, and memory. Respite, Four of Swords, perfect. Okay. Oh. So the Seven of Swords is on the side of Morgan Le Fay. And the Six of Cups is on the side of the El Shaddai, which makes sense. This mentioned E, F, G, A, Arbiter, right? What did it say? She is Solomon's fair disciple, deliberating with compassion and love, placing emphasis on common sense and astute wisdom. I mentioned wisdom a few times. So now I'm going to read these. All three of these are in different realms. So Arthur, Morgan Le Fay is in his realm. The Witch of Ages, a treacherous, deceitful villain in life, Morgan Le Fay spent an age in atonement for her wickedness, before being set free to wander where she wished in Anman. A trickster and shapeshifter, she takes on the form and nature of all she encounters, the better to learn of it, and its place in the world beyond. Morgan Le Fay reminds us that through service, even the wickedest among us may learn from our misdeeds. That a lie is a tool which can be used for good or for ill, and that the best way to learn of others is to spend a while walking in their footsteps. Trickster seems like Trickster, because you know that came out. It also makes me think of that Arbiter again. And the Arbiter's ability to account for who we are. Oh, look, there's a Rishka ball. Oh, wait. I'm looking for El Shaddai. I don't know where El Shaddai is. Abraham is in here, I think. I'm pretty sure Abraham is in here. Oh, here's El Shaddai right here. The realm of Sheol. Oh, this is the first time. The Leper King is in this realm. Okay. A shining god of wisdom and kindness, El Shaddai and the court of the Elohim represent the inclination towards good in mortals and in mausolea. As such, he is the balance of Abaddon and has the respect and awe of all, including the other gods. In El Shaddai, find the beneficial aspects of the devoted father figure, a source to turn to when seeking the most correct and wisest course in any proposed action. So it's interesting that it feels like El Shaddai plays on the good in man, and then Morgan Le Fay plays on the opportunist, or man's ability to be sort of opportunistic. Now, where does this fit in? I think so. It's interesting because yesterday it was about debilitations, right? Like the survivor came out with the strategist, and then the I Ching was like, um, there's a debilitation on the below as the above like takes over, paraphrasing. And it's like, even though you can't move, or even though it's difficult to move, it's still auspicious to move. And it was like, well, how do you move in debilitation? How do you move if there's no movement in the below? And it feels like it's coming out here where it's asking, it feels like a moral ethical question of like, what are we sort of willing to do to have our desires met? It feels like there's a shady, less than savory way that Morgan Le Fay would have taken, at least in her early days. And then there's the right way of El Shaddai. Ooh, the bottom of the deck is the world and the Four of Cups with cyanide, morphine, arsenic, and heroin. And then the sun. So it feels like the sun is what the Four of Cups tries to be. And maybe that's the morphine and the heroin. I think it's more the morphine and heroin than the cyanide and arsenic. Where it's like it tries to artificially, or it tries to inject some substance to reach a certain being state, where the sun just is that being state. It doesn't need anything outside of itself. Um, but that's fine. What did I say I was looking for? Well, here's the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords is in between the Knight of Cups and the Sun, just in case you were curious. But we're going for the Two of Swords, so that matters less. Oh, there's the Two of Rods. Well, who did I say? What did I say? The Two of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. Okay. The Two of Blades and the Wheel of Fortune. Well, here's the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is in between the Queen of Coins and the Seven of Coins. I feel like I've seen this Queen of Coins before. And then the Two of Blades. Ooh, so I'm getting to the. Oh, here it is. The Two of Blades is in between the Six of Rods and the Seven of Rods. And again, no, these are all up and down. Okay. And then the High Priestess is right behind that. So there we go. With the white flowers. Oh, snap. Well, I guess that makes sense. Oh, the Seven of Rods has that too. I didn't even notice in the Seven of Rods. The Seven of Rods has white and black flowers, just like the Two of Blades. Or the Seven of Blades has white and black flowers, just like the Two of Blades. But the Four of Blades has only white flowers on it. And then the flowers on the elixir, Six of Elixirs, like they're different colors, purple and or pink and blue, purpley pink and blue. Wait, that's my Two of Blades. Why is this? Oh, High Priestess. Okay. Did I just hold up? Am I messing up? So it was this, and then this was up here with these. Okay. So in between the 6 and the 7 is the Two of Blades. In between the Queen of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles is the Wheel of Fortune. This so Seven of Blades, Seven of Rods, and the Seven of Coins are all on the table. If we're talking about fortune, 777 is the jackpot if you're playing slots, right? Which is like the most you can get, I'm pretty sure, in slots is the 777. So it's an energy of like playing a game with a winning hand, but not even, I guess if you don't know the rules, if you don't know the game that you're playing and or you don't know the rules of the game, then it can be difficult to know if and when you get a winning hand. Right. Which is why one shouldn't be so quick to attach to that which has already happened or that which has already occurred, aka the past, in either a positive or a negative way. Or to not be so attached that they don't really allow for any other outcome. Oh, look, six of elixir, 6 of rods. I didn't even catch that either. So there's a 6-7-6-7. It's the 6 of elixirs, 4 of blades, 7 of blades, 6 of rods, 2 of blades, 7 of rods. And then it's the Queen of Coins, Wheel of Fortune, 7 of coins. So the Queen of Coins is, in some ways, occupying the space of the 6 of coins because it's 6 card 7, 6 card 7, Queen of Coins, card 7. So if it all fits the same, even though the message is kind of sort of to not make everything fit the same pattern, so we're not going to do that. I am going to pull before and after the 6 of blades, the 6 of oh, look, Justice. Justice is behind the High Priestess. Look at that. There is a knowing of what's going on. We just not got it. And the King of Blades is behind that. And the King of Blades is my masculine side of the High Priestess. It's the one that can account for its own actions in the equation, like the strategist yesterday. But I'm going to look at before and after the 6 of coins to see how our conception might, or my conception might line up by trying to find the pattern and following it. Well, the last 7 is out, and then there's the King of Rods. So around the 6 of coins is the 8 of coins and the 7 of elixirs. So 7 of blades, 7 of rods, 7 of coins, 7 of elixirs. The only 7s that aren't here are the chariot and the tower. The Queen of Coins is pre-Empress energy. So this is like the perception. Because if I pull around the perception, I got to pull around the reality to see if this actually serves us. Because sometimes it might. Maybe like we're on the right track. Sometimes it might not. So the Empress was pretty close to the High Priestess and Justice. She was pretty close to the bottom. She's in between the Knight of Rods and the Ace of Blades. So yeah, no. Empress energy is bringing something completely new. If we try to fall into the pattern, we're going to get more of what we already were getting with the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Coins is a continuation of what was or what is. It's a furtherance of it, right? It takes it to the next level. The Seven of Cups came out yesterday in the Corruptor, and the Corruptor was the one who was made bitter by the world that they were rejected by. So this is why the Fatalist is coming out. It's interesting, though, that what's interesting is that, like, by accepting it, we open up to change. Because you would think, or it would be easy to think that by accepting it, it just continues to remain the same. But the thing, too, yesterday was that, like, there are higher things involved, there are bigger things at play. And the arbiter takes in mind human beingness. The arbiter can account for humanity. So the arbiter can account for the collective and moving and shifting a collective in a way far better than we can. And I think, too, it's like there can be a lot of focus or emphasis on like our feeling that purpose is related to, or like you'll hear a lot about like shifting the human collective or shifting the collective consciousness or ascending the collective consciousness. But there's only so much that we as people can do for other people, right? So that's like going up to somebody and telling them to quit their job. And they listen to you, but you can't help fill that gap that their job provided. Like you can't clothe them, you can't house them, you can't feed them, you can't do anything for them besides tell them to quit. And so then it's like now they're just left with what? And how are they going to fill that void? And it's like the divine, the higher powers that be can sort of like do things that we as humans can't. And it's not for us to not do anything. But again, it's like it feels like this is an energy that can accommodate for intermediary steps because it's not going to be boom, boom necessarily immediately overnight. It's like that's why the journey is a process. You know what I mean? That's why the journey is a journey and not just like I don't know. Is there anything that just instantly changes overnight? But that's why it's not that if there is one. Now, what's interesting is in another thing is that in the Seven of Rods, the Seven of Blades, and the Seven of Coins, there's one that stands out from the other six. So there is like the bigger rod that stands out from the other six. There's the, not only is it larger, but it's also pointing upward. And then there's this one coin at the top that's not paired with any other coin. But in the Seven of Cups, that separation or that distinction doesn't exist. And it seems like a lot of times, like it can be easy to think of distinction as bad because it's like, oh, well, if one person is made whatever, then everybody else is going to feel less than or whatever. Honestly, I'm like, well, that's everybody else's problem because it's not anyone's job to have your self confidence, self esteem, self worth, self knowing at whatever level. Like, we shouldn't all be playing small and dumb and blind because what, to make other people feel like, how are we going to get anywhere? Who does that benefit? And if it's just for the purpose of like soothing or satiating an ego, what is that going to do? What has an ego ever done on its own? But that's what this one with the, if you go looking for the six of coins, because I'm like, oh, if that follows the pattern, it's like it does work, but it feels like the work that it does to break out of a system, it ends up reinforcing. When everyone is who they are, everything will work a lot better. And it's for us to be comfortable enough in who we are that we can allow other people to be who they are and it not be a source of tension or conflict or disruption within a larger sort of governing or functional body, right? Like, we should be confident enough within ourselves that other people can shine and do the things that we need for them to do because they have the capability, the desire, the whatever to do it. You know what I mean? But when everyone is like, oh, well, I don't want to, when we start to try to force conformity or force everything to be the same, it's like at a certain level, yes, but in a practical way, like going back to the human body, it doesn't do our brain any good to behave like the lungs, and it doesn't do the heart any good to behave like a kneecap. You know what I mean? It's every organ doing what that organ does that makes the body function as a whole. So on a whole, we are all part of one body, but as individuals, we all have our different individual things, and that's okay. This was here. I'm gonna put this. I wish I had more room. This was with this. The Knight of Blades and the Knight, are the Ace of Blades and the Knight of Rods. So the Ace of Blades and the Knight of Rods around the Empress, maybe it's an energy of like knowing what is for one to do, or it's like an aha moment. But it's also, hey Eve, how you doing? There's also with this Knight of Rods, it feels like there's a lot of passion in it. Like, this is the thing that excites you. And it might not excite everybody else. It might not work for everybody else, but it works for you, and that's all you need. This is why there's one that stands out in all of the other sevens. This is why there's one above the rest, but it's not really above. It's just doing its own thing. And as it does its own thing, it fills whatever niche role it needs to fill to make the whole perform, function, progress, move, evolve, ascend a lot more smoothly. And like the Eight of Pentacles and the Seven of Cups, like this feels like work. The Knight or the Knight of Wands and the Ace of Swords, that feels like adventure, play, fun, fulfillment, the satisfying of a curiosity. Like the feel is a whole lot different. And again, that's why it's like even seeing patterns and noticing patterns and like trying to follow a pattern or whatever. Again, it's like we can think that like we're getting ahead of the game or like we're where we're supposed to be. And sometimes we are, maybe we are. But we also have to keep in mind that when we live that way and when we play the game that way, there's something that we're deciding and there are things that we're not making room for. And the fatalist, I feel like the fatalist is saying surrender to how things are so that we can have the space, the capacity for whatever's coming next. And we don't do that by trying to find who the Queen of Coins could be or trying to find like a substitution for her. We do that by elevating the Queen of Coins into the Empress, making her stand out, making her the one. You know what I mean? We can all be the one. We're all the one. You've been reading at night? I got this whole book that I started reading when I got it in Chicago. And then I read it on the way home. And then I got home and I started playing video games, doing readings, watching YouTube and everything else. But it's like I feel like I spend so much time at work that it's like I get home and I want to watch Netflix. I want to watch like YouTube. I want to play this game I just got. I got 2 whole books actually. I shocked myself. When I went to Barnes and Nobles and I got those 3 decks, I got 2 books. If you ask me where they are right now, is this one of them? This might be one of them. Nope, that's not it. I don't know where they are. I bought those 2 books. I literally have no clue where they are. So it's fine. But like, because like when I was little, before I got into video games, I loved reading. I loved it. I basically read through the library at my elementary school, and then I got a library card, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. There are so many books. And then, see, this is where my competitive nature worked against me. Because at first, I wasn't competing to get the most AR points. I just got the most AR points because I read that much. But Michael V, I know I still remember his last name. That's how petty and bitter I am, I guess. Michael V got a library card, started getting books at the library that were worth more points than the books that we had in our library. And there was a wider selection. He got the most points one semester, and I was mad, and I vowed to never read again because I wasn't the best anymore. And then at the same time, we got a Nintendo 64, and it was really fun. So, there you go. But yeah, I used to love to read. I still do like reading. When I find a book that I really like, I read a lot of like high fantasy typically. If I am reading, so. And Game of Thrones, Song of Fire and Ice, or whatever, it's the thickness is intimidating to me. So I don't know if I could do all that. But yeah, I did buy 2 books. So Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Wait, that's the new one, right? Because I think that's the one that I wanted to get it, but there have been so many games, especially that have come out in the past month. Bayonetta 3 is about to come out here sometime soon. Like God of War, Ragnarok is about to come out sometime soon. I still ain't, like, I got Horizon Forbidden West when it came out, but I never finished Zero Dawn to play Forbidden West, and then other games came out. It's like, I don't have enough time. You just got it the other. Well, I would say I've heard good things, but I feel like those were all commercials. IGN rates it 5 out of 5 stars. GameSpot 4 out of 5. Best game I've ever played, but I don't know if I know any people who have played it personally. But I mean, it seems like an awesome premise. So, okay. Oh, this goes here. I feel like I didn't necessarily read like Six of Wands, Seven of Wands, or Queen of Coins, Seven of Coins. But I feel like everything that was like, I feel like I got the message. But I guess I can look and see if there's anything else here. I still don't quite know where El Shaddai and Morgan Le Fay fit in, but I did just like randomly interject them. We'll have what we need, but in my case, I didn't recognize it. And because I didn't recognize that I had what I needed, I did it the more difficult way. And I was very upset and very frustrated that it was taking so long when the answer was like the answer literally came in the same box as the riddle. It's like the answer is five. What's 2 plus 3? And you're like, wait, 5? Like, yeah, I told you the answer. You can listen. Great. Oof. And accounting for the humanness, I was ready to go. It was a long day. It's been long days turned into long weeks. That'll soon be a long month. I think it's already been a long month. It's already been a long month. So of course, like me being frustrated and like upset that it wasn't what it always was. It's human. It's understandable. But in all that humanness and understandability, I sure did make it harder for myself. But I'm human. That's what we do. That's what I do. I ain't gonna put that on nobody else because if anybody is gonna make Patrick's life difficult, it's probably gonna be Patrick. Let me tell you, he has a knack for things like that. I used to tell myself like I make my life difficult because life isn't supposed to be easy, and if life isn't making life hard for me, then I have to make life hard for me. Now, life was also like not easy in a lot of that, but I wasn't really good at acknowledging how difficult life was and giving myself any kind of grace or compassion. Um, so yeah. Oh, look! I just noticed this. The six of rods are crossed like the two of blades, but the seven of rods are open. So this actually comes in to open something up and to make something that was previously impossible possible. And it's a similar thing here, right? It's not as extreme in the blades, but this ace comes in to separate these two, open up channels, lanes, gateways, and to make something that was thought to be impossible, that was given up on, it makes it possible. Now, the Seven of Coins is interesting because we see the keystone. And that was in the entry for the healer yesterday that talked about the Masonic something that's the keystone, and the keystone and the arch basically maintains the arch. Without the keystone, the arch would like fall apart. So it is uniquely positioned to withstand the torque, tension, pressure, compression, expansion, whatever, and to hold everything in place. And the keystone is this Queen of Pentacles. It's funny you mentioned that because I was on somebody's. I went to maybe one of my buddies, one of my old buddies. I went to his Twitter because I haven't really talked to him in a minute, and I was going to reach out to him, but I forgot. And he had a YouTube link on his Twitter bio. I was like, "What? He got a channel?" It was Rick Astley. I was like, "Okay, all right, all right, that's fair." I do like the song though. So this energy, the energy around the Wheel of Fortune, is actually interesting because it feels like the Wheel of Fortune is asking us, what do we do for others, or what are we going to give? Because again, it feels like the Queen of Coins is this one at the top. It's the archstone, or it's the keystone. It's what holds the arch together. And then with all of these hands going out, it's like, well, what do you give? A lot of times we think about what it is that we want to receive, but what are we giving? And I guess that's interesting. It's an interesting question going for the Six of Pentacles. Because the Six of Pentacles is about giving and receiving, but it seems like the default context, or not the default context, a lot of times it seems like it comes through the energy of like you're about to receive something rather than like you're about to give something that you can like afford, like you're about to give something that has no impact on your stability. Usually we're in the position of receiving with the Six of Coins, but it makes sense because the Five of Coins is about being out in the cold, right? And not necessarily having enough. And then at the six, you get it. But it's about giving it. And I feel like that, because again, like the Empress was the other energy. Like we take it up instead of finding like the pattern or finding the role it can fit. And the Empress receives and gives. But it's like the very sort of earth around her benefits, nourishes, flourishes. Hers is an energy of fertility and abundance because of her. It's like because she gives so freely and openly and wholeheartedly, she receives many times over. And then I'll just love like it feels like the Seven of Cups, Seven of Elixirs can be so much like confusion and like not knowing which to take. When the Ace of Swords, it's clarity, it's knowing. There's no question. Okay. I saw sunflowers the other day. I don't even remember where I was. I know I was in the car with my brother, and I was like, "What are sunflowers over there?" I mentioned that because of these flowers. These might be what, cosmos. They're not sunflowers, but I did see sunflowers in town the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody growing sunflowers out here. All right, let's put these back and get some fun messages. And then I have the audacity to start another show on Netflix. I'm like, oh my gosh, but I'm only on season 1 or season 2 of this 4-season, 7-season show, and I'm starting to put a new show in the mix. It's fine. Maybe I will just take like a solid week of vacation. Part of me is like, oh, it's not going to be that long. There are a lot of things that I'm taking this as an opportunity to learn because my time management skills honestly need a lot of work. And I was like, oh, well, this is a great time for me to learn time management when I have to know how to manage my time. I think too, though, it's about like in time management, it's about knowing sort of like what can wait until when, and not just like trying to get everything done in one day. Um, I watched the first 2 episodes maybe of Sandman. And that's when I was like, when he was like, you got one of the endless. And they kept the endless locked up for nearly a century. People, it's like affecting people. And I'm like, that's why I was like, see, this is why angels and stuff don't mess with us no more. This is why they like, we'll send you a card, we'll send you a feather, maybe we'll pop up in a dream or something. But as far as like face to face interaction, no, that's all for the biblical days. People crazy. Y'all folks crazy. Yeah, angels start popping up, and then next thing you know, somebody going around collecting them or trying to trap them or do whatever. I had a dream one time. It was a while ago now. I had a dream that there was an angel that, out of the goodness of her angel heart, went to go and help people. And it's like, because there were older people, and the older people were relying upon the angel because they were too fixed, too set in their ways. And the angel was like, all you have to do is do this or do that. And they were like, but we can't do that. And she was like, okay, fine. So then she, like, they had like the younger younger people, the kids. There was a generation of kids, and she was like, okay, I'll teach the kids how to do it. So like y'all can basically manifest whatever you need for yourself, and things will be gorgeous. So in the dream, what the older people did was the older people had the kids use everything that the angel had taught them to get them to trap the angel. And it's like, why couldn't they just have, the kids do what the angel helped teach the kids to do, which was like help y'all take care of yourselves? Like, it was so weird. And then it's like, well, where did the angel go? Well, the angel is trapped somewhere on earth because some people just couldn't let her go. It's like, we need you, we need you. But it's like, look what y'all just had the kids do. Like, hello? I don't know. It was a weird dream. But if I was an angel, I wouldn't mess with humanity. I'd be like, I can, from up here, yeah. From where it's safe, sure. Ooh, people have been doing all kinds of stuff for who knows how long. And it's like, man. Anyway. But yeah, I remember Rob was here. And then I was on Twitter. And because Rob was like, if an angel with like 50 eyes popped up in front of you, you'd be scared. And I was like, yeah, you bet I would be. And then let me see it, because I sent it to him. It was like, do not be affirmed. Or be not affirmed. It was like a picture of this Furby. So yeah. And it's interesting because I had another dream before that about an angel that had just like disappeared. And they were like, "Where did the angel go?" I'm like, and I think that was before. Was that before I got the Angelarium year twos? When that the stories of how Barakiel and Satariel, they was like, "Ooh," and then Armoros was like, "Okay, all right, this wasn't supposed to happen. We were supposed to teach them how to be good people, and then they'd be good people who can activate the peace and part of the divine within them to make their own lives and the lives of everyone around them like better and magical and gorgeous." Like, why are they weird? Because people gonna people, you know what I mean? Because we have free will and we have choice, and some things we want to learn, some things we want to experience, some things we want to discover for ourselves. And so we will use our choice and will to do that. It's like you had everything you need. It's like, oh, anyway, let's just move on. The arbiter is saying, "I know you. I've been watching you. Maybe, perhaps, things could be even better. So, let go. Give things an opportunity to be better." I'll take that. Okay. First, final cards from the mausolea, please. Just one card would be gorgeous. I feel like my posture is so bad. I'll take you. Oh. The eternal servitor, the ancient wanderer, hope, incompleteness, and yearning. Emphasis is on the hope, though, because I feel like hope is or was a thing. Bottom of the deck is the matriarch, mother of homestead. Rejection, opportunities, and consequences. Well, we got rejection and opportunities and consequences, and the mother of the homestead with this hope in the eternal servitor and that yearning. Is that hearsay? It would be so like interesting if hearsay popped out because its energy has been all up and through here. Eternal servitor. I don't know which realm this is in. Oh, that looks like it might be. Do I? No, I don't know. We'll see. I'll just flip through all of these because I don't know where it is. Abraham is in here, but Abraham was in Pandemonium. It was Thanatos. That's who came out. The son of night and darkness. It was Thanatos and somebody else a while ago. Thanatos actually came back out at some point. Eternal Servitor is in the Empire of Irkala, where Erishkigal and just Erishkigal, where Erishkigal is from. The ancient wanderer, the eternal servitor, has wandered the realm as long as anyone can remember, perhaps as long as there has been a mausolea, as long as there has been time or memory. It wanders, incomplete, suffused by longing for the unknown thing that it lacks. Perhaps this thing is a piece of itself, the truth of what it is, the purpose for which it was created, or maybe it itself a memory, or maybe it is itself a memory, a remnant of something that died even before death came into being. The eternal servitor reminds us that we are ourselves eternally incomplete, and we must manage our desires and shape them to what we want to be, lest they consume us and become all that we are. Oof. I mean, honestly, when it said yearning, it looks like what it's holding is exactly what it's looking for, but it doesn't think that it'll fill that void. Like this little pearl is what it's looking for to fill this void, but it's like, oh, but this is too small to fill that. But if you put it in there, that's it feels like there's a certain luminescence and brilliance to this. So if it puts that in the hole, even if that doesn't like expand to fill the hole, or even if the void doesn't contract to fit that pearl of light, the light itself would illuminate the void. And it feels like the light would fill whatever needs to be filled. And it makes me think of it's something scientific, or it can just be like it can be quantum. Um, but it's like, is it like a electrons? Maybe it's like some charged particle passing through, um, like a pump or a channel in a cell or something like that. But it feels like as like the light goes into the void and it radiates outward, the void reacts to the light that it feels. So it feels like even if there is a gap of space, even if that gap isn't bridged or closed, like what's needed on the outside, like it gets it. I feel like I can't. It's like it's the sun in plants, right? The sun doesn't have to be on Earth for life to get what it needs from the sun because it travels through the light. This is a plant. So if you put the light in the middle, the light radiates and shines outward. So you don't have to fill that gap because the thing that it needs travels to it. But it has to be in position to like get access to it. That's what it feels like. So sometimes you wonder if both light and dark don't both feel empty to themselves. Somewhere there in life occurs. I like to think that they have a pretty strong relationship. One where they don't have to like compete against each other to do whatever. But, you know, in the beginning there was darkness until light was created. So, according to some belief systems, I wonder if there is a belief system where it's like in the beginning there was light and then darkness was born. Because even like, who was that? Night? It was the night person in, yeah, night, I think, or not, NOTT. It was like not gave birth to day and not gave birth to like the sun. It was like night came first, darkness came first, and then light was created. But I wonder if there's any system of belief where the light, where day actually preceded the night. I don't know. Did I read it? I did read it. Who was at the bottom of the deck? Um, the matriarch. I'll read her too. Don't become a slave to your own desires, lest they consume you. That's kind of what it was talking about yesterday. That's why it's like leave that Seven of Cups alone. Not Mother of Dawn. There was Dawn and the Mother of Dawn. I remember that. Matriarch. She's in the domain of Duat. A noble queen, the matriarch lived a righteous life, free from sins that would weigh her heart when she came before the scales of Anubis, save one, the memory of which was lost to her. Hold up. So we got the eternal servitor seeking, yearning something that might be a memory itself. And then the memory of the one thing that she did that made her heart heavier than the feather, she forgot. It was lost. Because the arbiter takes into account our humanness. You know what I mean? Like, we're not expected to be perfect. If we were expected to be perfect, we'd be created perfect. You know what I mean? Perfect. So, anyway, I just thought that was interesting. A noble queen, the matriarch lived a righteous life, free from sins that would weigh her heart when she came before the scales of Anubis, save one, the memory of which was lost to her. In their hubris, she and her king denied the gods of Duat the worship and fealty that was their right, incurring their wrath even unto death. Given this, she was cast into the desert, where she established the homestead, a refuge for other wanderers, exiles, and lost ones. The matriarch reminds us that while there are some mistakes from which there is no redemption, maintaining a core of self, nobility, and dedication to right behavior will nonetheless provide opportunities, even if it's not the original plan. There is no sense in falling prey to personal disappointment. Your true value will be seen and understood by others. So I like how that ended. And I think even Morgan Le Fay had said something like that. It was like, for a time she was messing with people and she had her time, penance and stuff like that. Now she's learned how to use her nature for less unsavory things. Right? What did it say about Morgan Le Fay? That's not where I thought that was going, number one. But let me find Morgan. Where's Morgan? Hello? There's the Eternal Servitor. Here's Morgan Le Fay. What did it say? A treacherous, deceitful villain in life, Morgan Le Fay spent an age in atonement for her wickedness before being set free to wander where she wished in Anwen. That made me think of something I did recently. What was that? It was Radamanthus. No, Minos. It was Minos or Minos. And I remember talking about how he didn't sacrifice the white bull that came out yesterday, that referenced the one that nourished Emir. But anyway, it was like, in Minos's life, he ain't do this and he ain't do that, and he's supposed to be a judge of anybody else in the underworld. But even that, in that reading, it was like basically like allow something to change or something like that. And I was like, okay, so that was his past, but maybe, and in his role as a king in the underworld, like in his death, maybe he changes. Maybe in his second life, in his new life, in his transition life, there's something that he can do where it's like, let go of the past. And I didn't even think of the Six of Cups in that way. When we think about the things that we've done in our past, and we allow those things to keep us from living the future that we want or that we desire, it's like we stop ourselves from becoming that person who we want to be because of who we already were. But like yesterday and today, there's such an energy of like, we do the best we can with what we have and with what we know. We're not always going to get it right. And just because we get it wrong sometimes doesn't mean we don't deserve a chance to do better and to do better by ourselves. You know what I mean? Interesting. Okay. But, maybe it's like have a healthy sense of self but maybe not everything in balance, right? I don't know if I mean a path. Everybody's path is different, so maybe it's your path to go before the Creator and be like, I could have did a better job than you. Like limitless power and potential, and this is the earth, world, universe that you created. And then you end up creating something in your life, and maybe it's good for a second or for a moment, and then it falls apart. And Creator is like, oof. I mean, I made a whole universe. You couldn't even do that. I don't think the Creator would be like that, but I mean, maybe it would. It's like when that one person was like, how about we play your game, and if I beat you at your game, then then I get to balance the whatever. And then he was like, have you ever made a game before? Have you ever even done this before? You think you can do so much better? You ain't done nothing. Everything you're talking about is theory and conjecture about stuff you ain't even put into practice. Because if you live life and if you do it, you might find out that things tend to go differently than we planned, and then we hurt, and we make do. Okay? So when you start actually living your life, then come talk to me about how I should live mine. Anyway. It was blurry when before I started. Anyway. How could either I'm hungry. You always figured light came from the void, but the void is alive. Ooh, okay. Oh. Justice is here. What I love about justice is that it's half brain, half heart. The mind and the heart on the same page, moving together, forward together, as things should be. I say as things should be because it's like when the heart, the mind, the body, the spirit, the soul, when the all of one is on the same page, it's probably a good spot that they're in. It can be. For them, it's good. So, it don't matter what's on the outside, I guess. Bottom of the deck is the ace of coins, the one of coins. Justice and the one of coins with the seven of coins behind it. I like the 7 and 1 rather than just the 8. Because with the 7 and 1, with the 7, like there's the energy of everything that you've cultivated, learned, all the ways that you've grown up until this point. But with the ace, it leaves itself open to experience completely new. With that 8, it's just like doing the same thing over and over. Or it's going along the same path. It has no room for deviation. The 8 of coins kind of seeks to like eliminate deviation, honestly. It's a very fixed path sort of energy. I am starving. But again, this just makes me think because it's major arcana justice. It's just that energy of like there's a bigger plan, a higher plan, something more at play. Or it's like, I mean, it is that. But I think, too, there is a little bit of an energy of what we put out, we receive. Like it's like a return on energetic investment sort of energy. I'm actually going to read these because I think I like this book, but I don't remember because, oh, is that justice literally right there? Um, The appearance of the Justice card signifies that you are searching for answers to a problem or have a life altering decision to make. Both your head and heart need to carry equal weight in this situation. Whether you are settling debts or creating your own code of morals, all of your actions determine where you end up. Honesty and fairness are going to take you much further than lying and cheating yourself and others. That's the El Shaddai and Morgan Le Fay. Because it rules over law and order, justice also points to legal matters. Everything from court cases to divorce papers to job contracts are covered by this powerhouse card. Try not to worry because it tends to be a good omen, unless, of course, you've broken the law, universal or human. That's a potential. Oh, oh excuse me. Oof. Matthew, I don't know if I got enough brain. I don't know if I got enough brain for all that tonight. I'll get back to you. I'll weigh in later. The Ace of Coins represents the material energy that exists in the universe. Abundance is steadily flowing, which brings good luck in the areas of money and health. Money will be consistent, meaning you will have the funds you need, and your health is at an all time high or on the road to improving if you've had a setback. New beginnings are on the horizon, and whatever you put your effort into will reap very real rewards. So it's important to stay focused and continuously plant the seeds of success. It feels like there is an influence. I think that came out earlier, but it's an influence. I'm using the word influence. That's not the word I want. There's like this pervading question of like, life can be difficult, life can be challenging. The wheel of fortune will spin and turn. It is not for anyone to decide how that necessarily happens. But in all of that, who are you and who are you going to be? And that came out with who, the matriarch, when it was like, they were good. She thought she was above it all until she found out she wasn't. And even when she found out she wasn't, she still remained true to who she was. She made that one mistake that she forgot about. Like she ain't even know. I wonder what happened to her after. I wonder if she ever got out of the desert. I mean, she created the homestead in the desert, so her purpose, I don't know. See, but that was the thing that came out earlier too, with the fatalist and the arbiter. It's like we feel like we're getting punished for something that we did, or because something doesn't work out, but we don't know what life has in store for us, and we don't know who and what all exists within the realm of potential for us. And so, like, did she create a purpose? Or, like, did she make creating the homestead in the desert her purpose? Or was being the matriarch of the homestead her purpose to begin with? And if being the matriarch of the homestead was her purpose, that was the thing that she was born to do, then was she not also born to defy the gods? Was she not also born to defy the very ones that created her, so that she would end up in a position to do the thing that she was created to do? You know what I mean? And that's not to get into the whole like, well, if fate is a thing, then we don't have any choice sort of can of worms. It's more so like at every time, at every point, at every moment, there's a potential that we are where we're supposed to be. And just because something is happening at this point or because something else happened at a previous point doesn't mean that the path necessarily has to be a certain way. Right? It doesn't have to be like things went downhill after I made this choice and it's going to get continuously worse. Because something can always happen and turn around and make things different or better. Part of it is that we learn about ourselves, apparently. You know what I mean? I don't know. Interesting questions, though. You see this card? This one? Who is that? Is that Grace again? It's Grace. Again, we end with Grace again. The bottom of the deck is the Awakener. I saw this card when I was shuffling, and I was like, what? What is this card? And then when I was trying to find the Arbiter, I saw it in the book. Grace and the Awakening. That's interesting because it kind of makes me think of that one point of like, we try so hard to like awaken other, well, we can, some of us try to like awaken other people or to even awaken ourselves. And it's like, we don't necessarily want to create like out of the pot and into the fire situations where it's like we sort of encourage or force something upon someone and we can't even necessarily be there to make up for whatever it is that we're telling them to sort of like leave behind. You know what I mean? It's like we're all answers and solutions, but no support. But, there's only so much that we can do for ourselves, let alone others. And then there are those who make up the difference. I'm going to read the poem, The Story of the Awakening. I'll just do that. Or I'll read the Awakening's Tale. The Awakener's Tale. She awoke in the early hours, gripped by an unnamed fear, an abstract sensation of distant dread. Not a regular dread like the threat of isolation, sickness, or another's malice, but an internalized, indefinable foreboding. An innate knowing that something was immensely wrong, that everything was tilting on its axis. The owl had been trying to warn her, but she had ignored his alarm calls. She climbed out of bed, drew back the curtains, and watched in open mouthed horror as the night sky spun upon like a washing machine's contents, the stars spiraling around one by one, disappearing into a great black void. The light was born from the void, and the light shall return at the end of days. It reminds me of that one episode or that few episodes of Doctor Who where like the stars were dying or disappearing or something like that. And I think it was young Amy Pond. She was like, somebody was like, "What have you drawn?" And they was like, "Oh, stars." And like, "Oh, stars don't exist. Stars aren't real." They're like, there have never been stars. I forget what was happening in Doctor Who when that was going on. Uh, did the doctor die or something like that? Or was the doctor going to die and that's why the stars and we're dying? I don't remember. I guess I could Google it. Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm already here. Let me Google it real quick. Hi, Bixby. Why were the stars dying in Doctor Who? Doctor Who dying stars. Girl, this is not. Uh, this is not what I was looking for. Stars dying. Or did they just gone? Stars disappearing. There we go. Doctor. Fear. Hold up. Tanya Fear. Her name is Tanya Fear, and it was talking about fear. She went missing. A Puritan Doctor Who was found after being reported missing. That's not. The stars are going out. That's what it is. Turn left. Wait, it was Donna and not Amy? Hold up, wait. Oh, that was the one. Turn left was the episode. Oh, girl. Turn left was the episode where it was like Donna had a journey of discovering who she was, of learning that Donna Noble was perfect and amazing, and less arguably, the best companion, hands down, out of any of them. She was not the only one, but she was one of the few, it seems, that like didn't fall head over heels for the Doctor, and like it was this unrequited love because he's some spaceman that's going to live forever, and you're a human that's going to live like that in his whole lifespan. So why would he get attached, let alone all the trauma and stuff that he's carrying from his past, unless you Rose, and only Rose was Rose. And anyway, she was like, especially at that time, I only watched New Who. I didn't watch Classic Who, so maybe it happened in Classic Who. But in New Who, she was like one of the only companions that like didn't fall for the Doctor. And so they had a different dynamic and relationship. And again, like she went through this whole journey of like learning that exactly who she is amazing. And she became so pivotal in like his evolution and progress and growth within himself. Especially, I think she was the one after Rose, especially after like he did fall in love and lost the love and all this other stuff. She was so instrumental in that, and like some force or some evil people found out, and they were like, well, how do we like stop her? How do we keep her from keeping him on whatever track or whatever? And then somebody was like, oh, well, like, she wasn't always like this, right? Now I'm going to paraphrase because I barely remember. Somebody was like, oh, well, she wasn't always like this, right? She only became like this after she went on adventures with him. It took her being in the presence of someone truly magnificent and spectacular for her to see that she actually not only measures up, but in some cases exceeds. But if she would have never turned right, then that meeting would have never happened. So when the thing like turned left, they work out the events and she turns left. She turns left and her life is just like, her life continues on the path and trajectory that it was on. And with us having watched who she becomes and what she does and what she sees when she turns right and she goes on that adventure and she discovers herself and like the power of her coming into herself, like to see her, like it's kind of like heartbreaking. And I feel like that ties so well into this, and especially the vein of like how it was like it ends up at the Eight of Pentacles when it's supposed to be the Knight of Wands and the Ace of Swords. If we keep playing by the patterns and like we're trying to get ahead of the game by continuing to play the game, nothing changes. We create more of what already is and what already was when we're trying to elevate. But yeah, because she turned left, there were so many things that she didn't do, or she didn't help the Doctor do. Because at that point too, like he was going through it. He was making some questionable decisions, and she had to be his conscience sometimes. So maybe like some of those stars were planets and galaxies and whatever. They belong to systems that she wasn't there to help put him on the right track to save. So maybe without her, he just let him die. And like the thing is, like her worth isn't only what she could do for somebody else. You know what I mean? It's not just like you're supposed to be the Doctor's companion and you're supposed to be there for him so that he does this or does that or whatever. Like that's a part of what she's supposed to do. But she within herself is still a whole entire person. And at the end of her arc, spoilers, she gets reset anyway, basically. Because she becomes truly amazing, but for her to be truly amazing, like her brain can't handle it. I mean, okay, she was like the Dr. Donna. So, but still. I'm going to read the synopsis of this episode. Spoilers ahead, or I could just let you watch it. Well, I feel like if you don't watch everything up until that point, it might not have the same significance. So, like, if you want to watch Donna Noble, skip this part. Turn left. Oop, Doctor Who. That's so funny. So, that's funny because my freshman year, um, I was like so antisocial. Like we had a floor meeting and my RA came to get me. He was like, "It's mandatory. Everybody has to go," and I tried to get out of it, but I couldn't. So we went downstairs and we were going to the vending machine lounge area, but there's this hallway to the left. And so everybody, like I was, of course, at the back of the crowd, and everybody was walking that way. And I hit that left and then another left, and I went the long way back to my room. But I heard when I was going back, I heard my RA go, "Where did Patrick go?" And I told one of my residents because like when I became an RA, there were a few people, um, and by a few people I mean like literally a few people at Purdue who made it feel like home for me, or who were there for me long enough to find my own place there. And they were really like important to me. Those few people who reached out, no matter how isolated and standoffish and antisocial I was, who continued to extend and who I eventually warmed up to. I was like, I want to do that for somebody else. Because it's like just because things were difficult or because I felt lonely or alone or they weren't what I thought it would, like it wasn't what I thought it would be, like it didn't mean that that wasn't where I was supposed to be. It didn't mean that like I wasn't supposed to stay long enough to create or find a home for me or to find where I fit or belonged. And if I would have left or given up early, it's not always for us to stay. That's why like you tap into your intuition or discernment so that you can know what's for you. For some people it's to leave and it's like their place is somewhere else, but there was an experience that they had there, or just the experience of making a choice that wasn't it. Maybe somebody else, like whatever, maybe it was part of their journey, maybe there's a reason for them. But for me, from the moment I toured, it felt like I was supposed to stay. So that was one of the things that I wanted to do for somebody else when I became an RA, and I was able to do it, thankfully. Um, but the one, at least one of the people that I know I was able to do it for because I had that conversation with him and he told me. I mean, he didn't have to tell me because when he first got there, he hated it. And he was more introverted, more reserved. And I was like, okay. But there was somebody else on the floor who lived, I'm pretty sure they lived like literally right next door, that they had a lot of mutual interests. And so I had to like orchestrate some stuff to get them to like be in because I knew it was like if they were in the same room, like a friendship would blossom. And it happened. Anyway, I told him about how I turned left instead of going to the meeting that day. And then it's funny because like my freshman year, there were people that I met the next year, like people who became there were like 3 or 4 people who became RAs in that building that lived on my floor. And I was like, what? Like these are people that I later like came to be closer with who were there in the beginning, but I was so in my own whatever that I paid them no heed or mind, or I had no desire to connect anyway. Um, I told him, so like whenever we would do something that might be a little like outside the box for him, I'd be like, "Don't turn left." Like I turned left and I regretted it. Like, don't turn left. So anyway, that became our thing for a little bit. And like, turn left is the name of this episode anyway. Life is crazy. Paths are crazy. Nobody knows where anything goes. But let's read the plot synopsis of this episode. It's episode 11 of season 4 of New Who. There's your 4, like the 4 blades with the 2, the 11 on the outside. And then the shear is like high priestess energy. It's like, I'm going to take this here. Just trust me. Resign yourself to this fate. It can be sweeter. Or it might not be. So let's see. Let's read. Oh, girl, hold up. What? Oh, snap. Okay. Well, can we get into the synopsis? So he only makes one. So the Doctor only made a small contribution to this Doctor Light episode as the 10th Doctor. The story instead focused on the companion, Donna, and her encounters with former companion Rose Tyler. That's the one that he was all broke up about. The episode's narrative focuses on an alternative history where the Doctor dies during the events of a Christmas special. The episode depicts a dystopia caused by the Doctor's death, leaving Rose to convince Donna to save the world. The beginning and end of the episode take place in the show's normal continuity, and the end features a cliffhanger that leads directly into the series finale, The Stolen Earth. They stole the whole planet because Donna. Is that it? It's dystopian. It's the fourth most watched program. I guess plot. Here it is. While exploring a Chinese-style alien marketplace, Donna gets a free reading from a fortune teller who helps her recall the event that led to her meeting the Doctor. Donna remembers when she was at an intersection looking for a new job. She wanted to turn left to get a well-paid temp position, while her mother wanted her to turn right to take a permanent job as a PA. She ultimately turned left. The fortune teller makes Donna choose again and forces her to turn right. As she makes this new choice, a large beetle working for the trickster, literally the trickster, attaches itself to her back and she loses consciousness. Her decision creates an alternative reality in which she never met the Doctor after turning right, and as a result of the consequent butterfly effect, because Donna was not there to snap him out of it, the Doctor drowns in the flood, killing the Rachnos children, making him unable to intervene in several other events affecting contemporary Earth. Changes include the Doctor's former companion, her son, some other people perishing while stepping in and trying to stop Plasmavore, and some other stuff that people weren't there to help do. There were things that he was supposed to do that he couldn't do. So other people that we get to know like end up dead. There's a whole bunch of stuff that went down. And then the stars started dying or disappearing or something like that. So then at the end of all of this happening, or while this is happening, Rose Tyler, the previous companion, mysteriously appears to Donna and gives her advice which saves the Noble family from the destruction of London, but they're forcibly displaced. Later, after noticing the stars are disappearing from the sky, Donna is convinced to go with Rose. Rose explains that the stars are going out in every universe and that the fabric of reality itself was collapsing, allowing Rose to travel between universes. She insists that the Doctor is the only one who can stop it. Donna is transported back in time 4 minutes before she would turn right, but is too far away to contact her past self in time. She walks in front of a passing truck, which hits her, creating a traffic jam along the right-hand turning, causing her impatient self to turn left instead. As Donna lies dying on the ground, Rose, who never once tells Donna her name during the episode, whispers a message for the doctor into Donna's ear. The alternative universe is erased and Donna wakes up. The beetle falls off her back and dies. The terrified fortune teller runs away, and the doctor comes into the stall alive and well. Donna recounts her experience to the doctor and recalls that Rose's message was bad wolf. The doctor runs outside and sees those two words written everywhere, including on the outside of the TARDIS. He rushes inside and, hearing the cloister bell, announces that the universe is about to end. So basically, Rose, so we knew who Rose was because we watched the show. We knew who Donna was because we were watching the show. And this, we knew who Donna could become. But Rose never told Donna who she was. Rose never told Donna, I'm the companion that basically sent him into a dark night of the soul because we couldn't be together. And you're going to bring him out. So anyway. So I was supposed to turn left, basically. Even though I had regrets. I was supposed to turn left. If I didn't turn left, those people wouldn't have been so important to me, and maybe I never would have become an RA and to impact the people that I impacted, who went on to impact the people that they impacted, and so on and so forth. Choices lead to choices lead to choices. We can sit around and play hypotheticals all day long, but what happened is going to happen. What's important is what are we going to do next? And how we're going to move forward. So anyway. You've always wanted a sonic screwdriver? I've always wanted, that's what the sonic screwdriver can do. Or the ability, the telepathic language translation thing of the TARDIS. That would be pretty cool. Anyway, that's what I got. That's what I've been given. That's what I received. This is interesting. It's interesting. Well, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it is. I think a lot of times it can be easy, especially when we think of the divine or something like that. It can be easy to sort of make ourselves less than. And it's not to, maybe it's it can be easy. We know that the divine is forgiving and compassionate and loving and stuff like that. But maybe sometimes it can be easy to not think of the depths of that compassion or understanding for us. You know what I mean? The divine loves this thing. And something about the arbiter taking humanness into account feels important. I think that's also interesting, and it's interesting that justice kept coming out. Because with the way that paths work and with the way that people can change, there might be somebody who gets happily ever after that we don't think deserves one. Now, ultimately, that decision isn't ours to make, but we might these type of people always win, or why is it that always the bad guy gets the whatever? When is it going to be my turn? When is the good guy going to have their whatever? And it's first of all, you don't know what's going on in that person's life mind. You don't know what's for them. You don't know what's not for them. How about we focus on that? Because our path is our path. And again, it feels like there's so much that's accounted for. There's more than we can even begin to understand or fathom that's already accounted for. But so too, it's for us to remain open and to not fix ourselves. I want to say unnecessarily, but it's for us to not fix ourselves for any reason. Because we were who we were in the past, or because other people were who they were in the past, or because we think that the best of our days are behind us, or because we think that the one shot that we're going to have to make it in life is already gone, or we already blew it, or because we think that the world is a terrible place because whatever. It's something is going to be changing drastically with the Ace of Coins coming out. The Ace of Coins that came out with justice. Ace of Coins was at the bottom of the deck when Justice came out. I don't know. This message is letting know. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have an amazing whenever you see this. If you're not, I hope you have a better one soon. I hope that you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope you the awareness and discernment and intuitiveness for whatever unfurling paths. Especially as it seems like paths themselves go through some period of change or whatever, evolution or progression, ascension, whatever. And I will catch y'all the next time I catch you. I should just go to sleep. I was like, but all of the shows on Netflix that I started and this video game that I still haven't beat and the videos that came out today that I didn't get to watch. I feel like I want one more card. I feel like there's something unsaid. But that's fine. I don't think it's for me to say everything. Because, sometimes the less I say, the better. I did watch Rob's thank you video, which was it was neat. But he talked about options, giving people more options. And like I think I've said it before, like there are ways that like as I'm reading it, something might break down for me. Sometimes it doesn't feel collective. Or sometimes it don't feel like it's for me to say. It allows space for it. It's like a Alka-Seltzer. It dissolves differently in all the fluids. And so in my fluid, it's breaking up in this way. Maybe it'll break up in some other way for you. Maybe it won't. Maybe it didn't resonate. Maybe it did. You take it and you go with it. Because there are some things that I'm just like, maybe on the other channel. I don't even use that. I feel like I thought about making it. It's fine anyway. I'll catch you later. Bye. Thanks for being here, spending time with me. Good night, morning, evening, whatever.